Hooter4E replied, "Random distractions. SVS recommends this because receivers set the volume too low. I had the same issue until recalibrated. Now they thump crazy hard." Crazy hard, huh? Hey guys, and welcome back to another Random Distractions home theater update. And in this video, I'm actually going to try a suggestion from a commenter that I posted something on one of the videos in regards to the SVS subs when I was having trouble with them not sounding quite as loud. Although since that video, they have been sounding really great, but I'm going to go ahead and try it anyway to see what happens. He originally had commented on there that I should try to set the subs to -15 and then rerun the calibration. And so I asked him, what the thinking was behind that, and that's what he had replied, was that SVS is the one that recommends it, setting it to -15 because receivers set up too low. So, and then when he said that they thumb crazy hard now, that really got me interested. But before I do that, I just wanted to say thanks to everybody that has been subscribing and those that have commented. I think it's because of comments like this that will make my home theater even better. So I definitely appreciate that. I've mentioned before many times that I am not a pro, so all of these things have been really valuable to me and helping me enjoy this even much more. So. And just a little side note in regards to comments on YouTube, for whatever reason, sometimes, like for example this one, I had received it in my notifications and I even replied in the notifications, but then when I tried to go looking for it, it was nowhere to be found. Like it was not on the video and it didn't show up in the comments, not in the spam. I even tried the YouTube app because some people had suggested that, and still nothing. So I actually received one not that long ago as well, that I was just in the actual notifications, but not in anywhere else that it existed. And I wanted to reply to it because it sounded like I couldn't see everything in the notification. But when I tried to click show more, it would not be there. So. But anyway, just a side rant for YouTube comments. So if you do send me something and I don't reply, it may be because YouTube, for whatever reason, decided not to show it. But anyway, in regards to what I am running right now for the Anthem is version 1.102.125 for the firmware. And when I actually tried to load up ARC, it actually mentioned that there was an update. And so that one is version 1.5.4. So I was actually kind of curious to see if it would make any changes or differences going from, I think the one that I had before was 1.3 possibly, or something like that. But yeah, so I was really interested to see if that would make any differences. So I made sure to note what the settings were beforehand and then also afterwards on this. So of course the first thing I did, which I love this about the SVS, is that they have the app, and I was able to set both of the subwoofers to -15 before I started the whole process. And now we're going to go switch over to the software. So the first thing I did is went into ARC and removed the settings from the MRX 1140. Then I went and reset everything to 0 dB in the settings. One thing I noticed when I was doing the subwoofers is that I forgot to remeasure after I had moved them. So I remeasured and put in the new distances for that, but then zeroed everything out, as you can see here. And then of course the last thing to do was just to launch ARC. And here you can see how I have the amplification set up, and I'm only going to be using measurement A with 5 positions for the microphone. And then of course it starts measuring, and here you can see what microphone 1 looks like. And here when it did the first subwoofer, which is on the left side, it was saying that it was too high. So I did have to turn it down from -15 to -18. And here you can see in position 4 how the microphone was set up for those, and position 5 was similar, just on the other side, of course. And then it was complete. So here I kind of quickly go through the curves that for all of the speakers, but I'm going to show a little bit more in detail here. Here's the front left. Here's the center. The front right. The surround left. Surround right. The Dolby one left and the Dolby right, and as well as subwoofer number 1 and subwoofer number 2. And here's the house curve, or at least I guess the system-wide target curve that it's trying to get to, and this is beyond me, so if you see anything that you're like, oh, you need to do this, then definitely let me know for sure. But then again, here's all the other speakers as well and what it did to that. And then just uploaded it to the device. And this is what it looked like in the settings afterwards. It did change things from what it was last time, so that's good. It doesn't seem to be as high as what it used to be from the first firmware version. So maybe they updated something in the firmware so it's not bumping it up as loud or something like that. So here's the center channel and then the surrounds. And then the Dolby. Alright, so that was what I did for the calibration. Definitely, like I say, let me know if you see anything or notice anything in regards to how it ended up looking, if I should make any tweaks or any additional changes. Although I will have to say that after making the changes, I listened to the Captain America Civil War clip where they're at the airport and they're fighting each other, and everything seemed to sound just a little bit clearer than what it did previously. The other thing I noticed, and I wrote down some notes so that I wouldn't forget, is that in the previous settings I was only able to go up to like -25 on the volume knob, and that's where, like, you know, it sounded really loud or loud enough where I felt comfortable with it. Without being an issue. And now I can go up to -15. I still have some room, I guess, as far as adjusting the individual levels. So even though I can go louder, I know that's because I've lowered the levels of the actual speakers. And then speaking of the levels, I'll actually post here a little graph of what it was before and after, and then what the difference is. And as you can see in the difference column, they're mostly like within 2 dB difference. The biggest one being subwoofer number 2, there's a 4.5 dB difference. And what actually I thought was kind of funny is that if you notice during the calibration, it actually asked me to lower the volume on sub 1, but it actually bumped it up 3 dB after the calibration. So I don't know why I did that, but overall the system sounds a lot clearer, and part of that is probably user error, because I know I mentioned in the software portion that for the subwoofer I forgot, or I realized that I had forgotten to adjust the distance after I have moved them from where they were originally at, which was pretty much right next to the entertainment center, to moving them out to the corners after I did the subwoofer crawl to figure out where the best place to put them was. And I forgot to adjust the time or the distance for that, which I know can affect as far as like the timing and things like that of how that works and everything and anything like that. So I'm wondering if maybe that's the reason why it now sounds a lot better. It sounds clearer. It sounds better integrated. One of the things that I thought of when I was listening to it is, so there's this song called Punchline by the band Chevelle. And I listened to it because it has like a kind of a consistent bass note throughout most of the song, but then it also has the kick as well that comes in really well. And in that one, on the previous settings, sometimes it felt like it was like it needs a little bit more, so I would bump up the dBs on the subs, but then it felt like that consistent bass note was just a little overwhelming, and so it was kind of hard to hear the actual lyrics and the other instruments. Whereas now I don't have to turn up the subwoofers. The bass note is still there, but I can still hear the lyrics. And I still feel that kick, like in my chest. So that's a good thing. And music overall just sounds really clearer and just that little bit better, which is surprises me because for sure it sounded good before, and now it just sounds that little bit more clearer and things like that. And in addition to sounding clearer, the bass is not only something that I hear, but I feel it now. So I don't know if that's due to the the suggestion of going to -15 dBs, whereas before I was like at -19, -22, somewhere around there. And so now one is at -15, one is at -18, but it doesn't sound like it's that much louder, if that makes sense, but I can still hear it and feel it. Whereas before I could hear it, but I wasn't feeling it as much as I am now. So hopefully that makes some sort of sense. The other thing I kind of wanted to touch on is since I've actually had the receiver now for probably about 6 months, I want to say I got it back in February or so, and kind of what my thoughts are on it now that I've had it for a little while. I have 4 bullets here that I wrote down. So I still enjoy it. I definitely love listening to music on it. I think that's where it really shines for me, is in the music department. I watch movies, and that's why I want to have a home theater. But when I'm at work, I listen to music pretty much all the time. When I'm driving, I listen to music. So music is still kind of a big part of me. But I never really sat down in my previous, when I had the Pioneer receiver, I never really sat down and listened to music. And now I find myself every now and then just sitting down and playing some music and just listening to stuff. And it just sounds really good. I really enjoy how that sounds. Let's see, and like I mentioned, after this calibration, it actually does sound a little bit better, a little bit clearer. The voices and the lyrics are a lot more pronounced, and they come off better. And I can hear other instruments as well much better, so that's been good. I still have it hardwired, so I haven't tried to switch it back over to the Wi-Fi. I know that was one of the issues that I had a while back when I was first setting it up. Is initially the Wi-Fi worked fine and it worked, but then I tried to reset it and reconnect, and it was not working at all, and so I ended up having to put a Cat5 cable directly into it, and I haven't taken it off since then, and it's been working fine. So I don't know if the Wi-Fi issue is still an issue because I haven't switched back to that. However, I will probably be switching internet providers because the current one that we have has not been doing very well ever since I switched, and so we're probably going to go back to the old one, but that would mean having to move the router, and it's not going to be as easily accessible as far as wiring unless I run wires through the house, so I may have to switch back to Wi-Fi, and if it's still a problem then I'll let you guys know. But so far, since it's been hardwired, it hasn't been an issue. The one thing I did want to mention is, even though I did register the device on Anthem's website, It's like I don't seem to get any emails about like when things are updated. So I know I mentioned that when I booted up Arc Genesis, it actually said, hey, there's a new version, you know, go ahead and do you want to go ahead and update? Which is great, but if I had, you know, no reason to recalibrate or whatever, then I would have never known that, hey, there's a new version of it. And based on what it's done, it actually did help. So it would have been great to have been like, you sent an email or notified. And I don't remember saying, you know, not to contact me or anything. So that would definitely be a plus. If there's something that I should be signed up for, or if anybody knows of anything where I should go and say, hey, notify me of things like firmware updates and things like that, that would be great. Because I know that from when I was doing a little bit of research on Anthem is that they're in it for the long haul as far as their devices. So they do updates to them. But I don't know if it's only in this version of the receivers that they haven't been as communicative, I guess, to their audience or what have you. But I would love to, you know when something needs to be updated so that I can do that and see if how that affects the changes and stuff like that. So, and then kind of going along with that, it's really not that big of a deal. I guess it's more of a question in my head as far as like, I know Spotify and Rune are supposed to be something that will eventually be implemented into the devices, but as of yet there still hasn't been any news or any updates in regards to that. And the only reason for me that I'm wondering is would it sound different if I listen to Spotify directly through the device versus right now the only two options that I've been able to do or try are the Bluetooth via my phone or through the Xbox console, doing it that way. I've noticed even just using those two where the Bluetooth doesn't sound as good as what doing through the Xbox and using Wi-Fi. And like I said, I don't know if it would make a difference if it was coming directly from the receiver or not, you know, or whatever. I know that Spotify is not really any hi-fi streaming service, or not a hi-fi streaming service. I think they currently top at 320 kilobits, whereas like, you know, I think the Apple Music is doing lossless, and there's Tidal, and I think there's also some other ones that may be doing it better. However, I've been using Spotify for a really long time, and you know, it's been good for whatever I've been needing it to be. So anyway, that's one of the other things that I kind of wanted to mention. I also wanted to mention just somebody had left a comment actually while I was working on this video in regards to whether or not the Anthem MRX has a on-screen display, and it does, although it's not anything fancy. It's really just a gray box that has two lines, and that's really it, but it at least shows you the information on there. I haven't had any issues with it as far as it displaying, but I have noticed that every now and then, and I have no idea why, the gray box will be red instead, but I don't know why that is, or if something is causing it. It would just randomly happen every now and then. So, and then it would go back to being the gray box. So if anybody knows what that means with an Anthem receiver, I would definitely appreciate it to let me know if I'm missing something or what that's all about, or if anybody has noticed that happening to them as well. I'll show a little clip of what that looks like for the on-screen display. Like I said, it's really basic, nothing that interesting. But if you do have, like, you know, your receiver in someplace else and you can't see the actual on-screen display of the actual receiver, it does send a little bit of information on there. And because yeah, even though the display for me is only about probably 8 feet from me, sometimes the small, when you're going into the settings, those are a little bit small, so it's easier to actually look at the on-screen display for those occasions and things like that. So but it does have one. So anyway, that's what I have for this video. Thanks again for all of the comments and suggestions that you guys have put on there. Like I said, I think it's really made it my home theater become even better and better as I go along. Would definitely appreciate any other suggestions that I could try to do, or like I said, especially with the ARC Genesis, it looks like you can do so much more with that. And so I'm kind of curious as to what things I might be able to do in order to enhance certain things. For me right now, it sounds really good. So I guess that's really kind of the important thing. But I don't mind trying something else out to see if it sounds just that little bit better, you know. I know one of the things that I could eventually do is to upgrade the actual speakers that I use. Right now I have the Pioneer Andrew Jones speakers, which funny enough, I only paid probably about $400 to $500 for, whereas, you know, the receiver itself costs 10 times that. So there's definitely room for improvement on the home theater front, but right now, unfortunately, that's all I can afford and be at. So for now, it'll do, and it sounds good. So any other tweaks besides upgrading equipment, it would definitely be appreciated. And thanks again for the comments. If you have any questions or anything else that I can try to answer, feel free. Like I mentioned, though, sometimes YouTube will not show a comment or delete a comment or whatever it does with a comment, but I will try my best to answer them for you. And until then, I hope you have a good one.